Hey, it's the conference championship recap and a little bit of a Super Bowl 59 preview on the Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast from FTN Fantasy for January 27th, 2025. I'm Aaron Schatz. You know me as that DVOA guy from FTN Fantasy, and he is not Mike Tanier because Mike Tanier is currently en route to Mobile, Alabama, where he is covering the Senior Bowl, and you will be able to get all of his Senior Bowl coverage on his Substack, which is miketanier.substack.com, and you should check that out. So Bryan Knowles is kind enough to join me today to break down the AFC and NFC championship games and talk a little bit about Super Bowl 59 and to take your questions and comments live. What do you think? So what's your first feeling?
Boy, another rematch. You have to love when the same teams win the Super Bowl year after year after year.
You don't actually have to love it. It's true.
I'm happy that the teams who played best on Sunday made it through. I'm happy that happy that there are no fluke teams this year. These are two very, very, very good teams. Either neither of them finished number one in DVOA. They're both up there. They're both really good. Doesn't look like it's going to be a massive blowout or something. I like that it's going to be close. I like that it's going to be interesting. I just wish it was a little fresher and a new matchup.
Yes, I feel the same way. Reminder, we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. They offer a new customer FTN special with up to $1,000 on your first-time deposit. You know this. You've heard me talk about this on all the past shows. Why are you not on Underdog Fantasy yet? Deposit match up to $1,000 when you sign up with code FTN. Up to $1,000 deposit match. The Super Bowl is here, and there is no better way to celebrate than with Underdog Fantasy. Camden Caps wants to know, where do you guys rank this Bills versus Chiefs Classic versus the others? 13 seconds game is still the best and the craziest 4 minutes of game time I've ever seen. What are your thoughts? I mean, this was up.
Yeah, this is up there. This is, obviously it's no 13 seconds because no game is ever going to be 13 seconds again. That was crazy. But I love how close it was. I love how tight it was. I love all the fourth down decisions that went over and over and over again. Just it's so different than it was even 5 years ago. It feels like the game was decided by players making plays rather than coaches making bad decisions, and you love that. It was nail biting. I feel like Buffalo was a bit lucky to still be in the game at the end, but they were, and you gotta love that.
That's how DVOA feels. I mean, if Buffalo had won this game, it would have come out as that they stole it, basically. The fact that there were 5 fumbles and Buffalo recovered all of them is kind of nuts. Now, it's funny because in the other game, there were 3 fumbles and Philadelphia recovered all of them, but all 3 fumbles were by Washington. So they were all forced fumbles. None of them, they were like aborted snaps. The DVOA is way in favor of the Chiefs. Eagles, 76%. Commanders, minus 41. Chiefs, 71%, Bills, minus 35. It is a much bigger spread than you would expect having watched the game because of those fumbles. The Chiefs had the higher success rate. The Chiefs had more yards per play. The Chiefs outplayed the Bills. Look, we said all season, the Chiefs are the weakest team with the 15-1 record or whatever we said about them over and over again. We constantly said, but we all think they're going to turn it on at the end of the season and in the playoffs. Like we said that over and over again. And that is what has happened.
17 consecutive wins in one-score games is insane. It's crazy. The fact that they can keep turning this on at the end of every season like clockwork, that needs to be studied in greater depth because no other team has been able to do this.
I mean, I will admit to being a little offended.
Yeah.
I don't like this. I believe that great teams should play great all year. I believe that usually a team that plays like the Chiefs did would not have been 15-2. They would have been like 11-6, and which is still a Super Bowl contender. But like you owe it to your fans to play your heart out. Also, I prefer like last year's Boston Celtics, who just went wire to wire dominating the league.
Yeah.
To this, like we're not going to, we're holding back until the playoffs. But there are other reasons why Marquise Brown is a reason why they didn't play better till the end of the season. And Xavier Worthy has definitely come along as a receiver. in the last few games that he didn't have early on in the season. So there's reasons to believe, to explain. It's not just that the Chiefs weren't trying or whatever. Earlier in the year, had their foot off the gas or whatever.
Yeah, but they're fortunate because they had so many of those tight wins on lucky plays or unrepeatable plays. Perhaps is a better way to put it. In the middle of the season, one or two of those go the other way, and the AFC Championship game is in Buffalo and not Kansas City, and maybe that affects, I don't know, some of the close refereeing decisions or something along those lines.
Flynn Haggerty says, a lot of doubters are pointing fingers at McDermott. Do I agree? I don't know whether the decisions that people don't like were McDermott, but they were probably Joe Brady. I do think that after the first couple of sneak attempts, it was clear that the Chiefs had solved whatever problem they had with left guard sneaks and stopped doing that. And they didn't. They just kept doing the same thing that didn't work. Also, YouTube user, who really needs a name, says James Cook did not touch the ball on the final possession. Why keep sending Allen on the sneak when the interior line battle was being won decisively? Yeah, see, I mean, the numbers going into the game suggest do the sneak. But after the first couple didn't work, I feel like they needed to switch up. And I like options.
Yeah.
I like 4th and 1 option plays. And when they ran a 4th and 1 option play, it worked. And do more of that. And that involves more James Cook. I don't understand why you wouldn't even have James Cook on the field for a 4th and 1.
Yeah, that was puzzling. But that's the big question. Like, when do you go away from what got you there? Because the Bills were the top team in DVOA on 4th and short all year long by a pretty massive margin. And yet its failures on 4th and 1 or the 2-point conversions, which are essentially 4th down plays, those were the difference in the game. So at what point do you say this is what we do? We sneak, we send Josh Allen forward and that succeeds. At what point do you say, well, the Chiefs are stopping this, let's switch it? And what point do you go, well, we're just going to keep doing what we're best at? It's tough. Being a coordinator is a hard job. But
I've seen a lot of criticism online of the Bills' decision to take an extra point off the board and go for 2 when a penalty moved it to the 1-yard line. I don't think people understand, especially if you look at how the Chiefs played against the run on short yardage for most of the season. It's very likely that you would consider that a 2-point conversion from the 1 would score 75% of the time.
Right.
So you are always going to take a 75% chance at 2 points over a 95% chance at 1 point, unless it's the end of the game and the game is tied and all you need is 1 point.
Yeah, it was the right call, but it was also a very high leverage call because that failure caused the next attempt at 2 points, which caused the next thing. So I mean, it was a very high leverage play, but it was statistically the right call, probably.
Also, if the Bills kick both extra points and thus the Chiefs don't go for 2 and they kick an extra, it's 31-31. Obviously, you can't predict how the whole game would go, but if it had gone the same way, Patrick Mahomes would have gotten the ball back on a punt with 2 minutes left. All he would have needed was a field goal.
Yeah. Not a big fan of Patrick Mahomes having the ball with a chance to win with no time left on the clock. Not a huge fan of that.
That being said, I will say when Mahomes needed to score to take the lead late, they only got a field goal. Mm-hmm. They left the door open for Josh Allen to make his legacy. And it was Steve Spagnuolo's defense that shut that door, not Mahomes.
The zero blitzes were called at exactly the right time. They blew everything up.
Osiris Torrance on the last 4th and 5 ended up blocking nobody because they didn't know where the blitzers were coming.
That is probably the biggest selling point of the Super Bowl for me, with Spags versus Vic Fangio calling, the defenses.
Yes, I think the defenses are better than the offenses in this game.
It's gonna be a very good show if you happen to like old school defensive football.
Yeah, and defensive coordinators trying to outsmart each other. And the Eagles were 14th against the blitz this year. That includes the Pickett games, McKee and whatever. But still, they were the most blitzed offense in the NFL. And now here comes Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl. Well, they need answers. They are going to need to figure out how to block blitzes and how to identify them and how to figure out where they're coming from. They've got great blockers. Although I'm worried about the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about the injuries. I want to know if Juergens and Dickerson are 100% before I pick this game.
Yeah. They say they are, but of course they're going to say they are, right?
We should talk more about the Eagles, by the way. The Eagles with a very dominating win over Washington. Obviously, some of that was garbage time, but, other than the Shipley touchdown, I feel like that was still, the Commanders were still trying, it's not like everybody had pulled their starters except for the Shipley touchdown. So the Eagles really had a really great performance.
They looked more like the Eagles that we had saw in October and November. We were all worried about Jalen Hurts' knee and Jalen Hurts' finger and AJ Brown's head. We were worried about if the offense could look like we saw for the majority of the season. And it was nice to see them like that, because you would hate for a team to lose because their quarterback wasn't quite right. You want to see someone lose at full strength. And the fact that the Eagles were able to be at full strength and were able to play the football the way that the way that got them here was very nice to see.
Yes, and I think that was Hurts' second best game of the year by DYAR. It was he had a very good performance passing. I still feel like he's limited running. When they ran a zone read, I thought he does not look nimble at all.
You could tell running laterally side to side, he was having some issues, but when he
ran forward, it was better.
Yeah. But he was healthy enough to actually play, because last week he was pretty terrible. The Eagles got a little bit fortunate to get through that one, but now it looks like he's going to be okay. He's going to get full strength. It's good. It's good to see.
Yeah. YouTube user says, did Dickerson have shotgun snaps? Yes. The Eagles run almost all entirely shotgun. So yes. And the snaps were not perfect. And one of those guys better be able to play center, either Juergens or Dickerson. The best thing for them will be if Juergens and Dickerson can both play and Tyler Steen doesn't have to. But obviously that matters because they're going to be lining up against Chris Jones. Those injuries are important. Some more early Super Bowl stats. The Chiefs were only 22nd against number one wide receivers, even if you remove week 18. So, hey, AJ Brown,
he figured out how to catch at exactly the right time after being like the most disappointing, like if you're doing playoff wide fantasy, the most disappointing player through the first 2 weeks was AJ Brown. And I don't know if he finally found the right chapter in his self-help book, but he finally started. He destroyed a Lattimore.
Lattimore is not right. If you look at Lattimore in the first 12 weeks of the season or whatever, compared to Lattimore after the hamstring injuries, he's a completely different guy. He just was not healthy. Some of it is like he wants to bump you and he wants to play close, and so he'll get penalties called on him and whatever. But he was so good the first half of the season and just not.
Yeah, there's nothing. He destroyed like 3 weeks in a row.
The Eagles were only 24th against wide receiver ones. Xavier Worthy, come on down. You are now Kansas City's number one wide receiver. But the Eagles were third against tight ends. So I don't think we're going to see a big Travis Kelce game in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he still seem to find a way. But yeah, no, this is not his best matchup.
No, thank you, says Spags only rushed 5 on the 4th and 5. Cody Alexander at Match Quarters said that Spags blitzes his defensive backs on high leverage snaps when the offense runs condensed formations, and the Bills should have known this and been prepared for the blitz. I saw that too, and hopefully the Eagles will see this and they will know it. I don't know how much the Eagles run condensed formations compared to what the Bills run, but yeah, Spags got, the Bills were not prepared for that blitz. And if that was a tendency that the Bills should have known about, then then they deserve to lose.
And more to the point, they may have only rushed 5, but they were showing 8. They were showing, I think, 8 guys blitzing, and then 3 of them dropped back. And Buffalo guessed wrong. That's what Spags does to you. He simulates all this pressure, and you try to figure out where it's coming from. And if you get it wrong, you're scrambling for your life on the last play of the game.
I'm going to ask you about the thing I don't like.
All right.
So I'm going to fully admit that I was rooting for the Bills. And there were a couple of reasons for this. One, I like seeing teams that haven't won it get it. That's why I was rooting for the Lions. The Vikings would have been fine. That's why I was rooting for the Bills. I want to see fan bases get happy that have never been able to be happy. The other is I did not want to go through 2 weeks of officiating discourse. And I think we're stuck here. And I don't want to go deep into it. I will say that there were a couple of missed calls on both sides in this game. Obviously, the big call was the 4th and 1 that Allen didn't get, that some people feel like he got. My opinion was that I absolutely, positively could not tell. Like, I have seen evidence, people have shown screens on Blue Sky that suggest both ways. Like, I don't know. I have no idea if he got it or not. I still don't think that the officials are in the bag for the Chiefs.
No.
Specifically, in other words, not, home teams get the benefit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think that the league has officially told the officials you need to call this game in favor of the Chiefs, which is what a lot of people suggest is the case. What is your feeling on this?
It's kind of a lunacy that we have to even say that. That's even a suggestion that some people have, but that's where we are, because the Chiefs have gotten fortunate with penalty calls. Absolutely. I also don't know if Josh Allen picked up that 4th and 1. I have no idea. There was not a clear shot of it on camera. There was not a crisp overhead shot that shows us exactly down the line. There wasn't a camera angle that could really resolve exactly where Josh Allen was at the time his forward progress was stopped.
And people don't understand that the chip in the ball doesn't solve the problem either, because the chip, you would have to basically have the entire ball be a chip in order to know that any part of the ball crossed the line. If the chip is in the middle of the ball and the end of the ball crosses the line, the chip will not register that.
It's not just that. What they use for the next gen stats and everything right now is ultra wideband technology that needs line of sight to work. And the exact situations we're worried about are the situations where there's no line of sight, when it's in a big mass of bodies. If you watch the dot, the dots replays that are so popular on social media and whatnot, every now and then on some plays you see times where the ball is lagging like 5-10 yards behind the play. When it works, when someone's in the open field, it's great. But it's the situations that it's worst for is what people want to put the chip in. It doesn't quite work like everyone thinks it would.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I'm again going to say I'll root against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl because I do not want to have to talk about officiating for the whole offseason. My nightmare is that the Super Bowl gets decided by some tight penalty.
Yeah. And that's true whether the Chiefs or Eagles win. Don't let the Super Bowl be decided on a penalty, especially a questionable penalty. But
which the last one was kind of.
Yeah, that's
James Bradbury DPI.
Yeah. My other point with the officiating is that the Bills kind of put themselves in a situation where the officials could decide that by getting to so many 4th downs, by getting just enough yards so many times that you enter the point where you're asking a referee to determine where the ball is. You're asking a chain to figure out exactly where the first down marker is. If you just get more yards, if you do better, you take the game out of the referee's hands.
It was interesting that they didn't bring out the chains. They didn't place the ball and then bring out the chains. They placed the ball and then said, "This is the thing."
That's the other thing that really annoyed me, because the first thing the referee said to us on that 4th play is the play is under review. They didn't tell us what they had officially ruled to begin with. We didn't know if they had picked up the first down and were challenging that, or if they hadn't picked up the first down. Like, they didn't tell us what was going on. And transparency and letting people know what's happening would go so far to eliminating some of these conspiracy theories. I know the XFL used to have a camera in the booth with the Sky Judge. I would love to see that. That's the technology I want. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear the discussions. I want to hear the deliberations, so we can clear up any of this nonsense of, we have to rule for the Chiefs because of X, Y, and Z.
Todd Singer says, I see comments on my timeline about officiating that come from people who I'm pretty sure don't watch a lot of NFL games. Borderline calls happen all day on Sunday. That is true. I'm also seeing a lot of comments on the timeline about how I didn't watch the game because it's rigged, but Which, I'm sorry, if you follow me on Blue Sky, you can't pretend that you don't care about the NFL. There is no other reason to follow me. I do not talk about other things very much.
Oh, boy. And when you start with, well, I know the game is rigged, so therefore, here's the evidence that I had. Like, you're getting you're causing your effect. No, please stop.
Yeah, and Big Cheese 77 says, if you do enough to get a first down, that's not enough. You should get more than you need so you don't get robbed, is a terrible argument and always has been.
I'm not saying that the refs shouldn't try to get calls right. I'm not saying that. I am saying that when you have a bunch of plays that end up being very close to almost being judgment call level things, occasionally one is going to go wrong against you. And if you're playing a game tight on the margins, that leaves you open to a mistake or a wrong call or even a slightly misjudged correct call, massively affecting your outcomes.
It's like I always want you to run a route for 3 yards on 4th and 2, not 2 yards. Like the Kevin Falk back in 2006 of the Patriots and the Colts. Like, if you run the route 1 yard past the sticks and you get pushed backwards, you're probably still going to be past the sticks. Whereas if you try to run the route right to the sticks or you try to sneak it right to the sticks, there's a good chance that it's going to get missed.
And more to the point, it wasn't just that one play. All the Bills' fourth down plays, almost all the Bills' fourth down plays seem to be designed to gain exactly enough yards. Like at some point, we'd help to just push it a little bit.
Except the option.
Yes. And the option, well, I know it was pretty to see, but it was not pretty while it was working out. That I am surprised that everything it managed. I'm surprised that Cook scored that play.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the option. I'm a big fan of the option on 4th and 1, and I would have liked to have seen more of it.
But the execution there was very much no, yes, if you're rooting for Buffalo.
Yeah. YouTube users asking about, he missed the beginning of the show. Was I surprised by the Chiefs' post-game win expectancy being so big? Again, it was because the Bills fumbled 4 times and recovered all the fumbles in the game. And the Chiefs had a higher success rate and more yards per play and terrible fumble luck. And when you look at those stats, normally that's an easy win for the home team.
Yeah. I was surprised it was 99%, but I'm not surprised that it came out very strongly in favor of the Chiefs.
Yeah, maybe I would have been less surprised if it had been like 90 instead of 99. But, I mean, the Chiefs outplayed them. We said all season, the Chiefs can't keep doing this. They cannot keep not playing that well and pulling out one-score games. But that doesn't mean the Chiefs are going to start losing. It means either the Chiefs are going to start losing or they're going to start playing better. And we always thought that what was going to happen was that they would start playing better. And that is what happened. And here we are.
We knew they were capable of this.
So what is your initial pick? If you had to pick right now, not breaking down all the matchups, but, first feelings about Super Bowl 59.
I think my first feeling is that I think the Chiefs are favored by 1.5. I think that's the current line.
I think it was started at 2, but it might be 1.5 now.
My gut there says to go with the Eagles. I do like, assuming the offensive line is fully healthy, and we don't know this yet. I do like them winning the battle in the trenches and opening enough lanes for Saquon Barkley to run over the Chiefs all day. I do not like betting against Patrick Mahomes, and there is no part of me that is confident in saying that Patrick Mahomes is going to lose any game at any point, anywhere. But I have to fall back on what we've seen with the teams for the whole season, and for the whole season, Philadelphia has been the better football team.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean Chiefs. I do think they're peaking at the right time. Mm-hmm. I think they have a very strong run defense. So I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to get the holes that he needs to break the tackles that he breaks. And I'm really worried about Dickerson and Jurgens.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to, we'll have to see how that happens. That is, as a fan of the 49ers, I know what happens if the middle of your line isn't very strong against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It doesn't end well for you.
This Chris Jones guy is good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going Chiefs because I feel like, I think I said it on Thursday's show. There is no incentive to pick against the Chiefs from a career perspective as an analyst.
Right.
Because if you pick the Chiefs and they lose, all you have to do is say, well, what was I going to do? Pick against Mahomes? Come on. And everybody will excuse it, and it's fine. Nobody's going to get extra points if they pick the Eagles and the Eagles win, because everyone's going to be like, yeah, but I mean, of course people pick the Chiefs. So there's no incentives to pick the Eagles. But I'm really worried about those offensive line injuries.
Yes.
One more comment. Big Cheese says the Bills lost the game when they called 4 straight pass plays in the last series. I don't think the Eagles are going to do that. That being said, they also got a big scramble by Josh Allen on the first down. That was the first of that. And I expected more scrambles all game. So, I mean, I thought when you call a pass play, you should be looking for the scramble. And they weren't really for most of the game. So I don't know if I truly fault them for calling the 4 pass plays. I do think that the screen on 3rd and 10 was
3rd and 10. Yeah. That's I know that means you automatically go to 4 and 4th, but a wide receiver screen on 3rd and 10 converts like 10% of the time. It's such a low. That's where
I would have rather run the ball on the
absolutely
3rd and 10 than the wide receiver screen. That if you want to try to switch them up by running James Cook, that would have been an interesting time to do it. All right, Bryan Knowles, thank you so much for joining me for today's show. I appreciate it. So we are not going to do a show on Thursday. I mean, I realize we could talk about coach stuff or whatever, but Mike will be in Mobile. So we are skipping Thursday and we are skipping next Monday. We will be back to you a week from Thursday with the big Super Bowl preview show live from New Orleans. Mike and I will both be in New Orleans. So that will be Thursday, the 6th of February at 11 a.m. Eastern. You'll want to join us for the Super Bowl preview show. Until then, he's Bryan Knowles. I'm Aaron Schatz. Mike Tanier's in Mobile, ftnfantasy.com. See you a week from Thursday. So long.